Okay, so we are now recording. I just want to let everybody know we're recording, so you're aware of that. I'm going to put this on later so you guys can view this at a later time. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Again, try to keep your microphone muted when you're not talking, just so we eliminate as much possible background noise. But then remember to unmute yourself before you ask your question. You're welcome to share your video so I can see, especially when you're talking. It's nice to see who I'm talking to. It's also nice to see you while I'm presenting, because then I can see the kind of confused looks on your face that help me know that maybe you're lost or something like that. But please feel free to kind of reach out if you've got questions or concerns, or you don't understand something, if you're having problems hearing me, those types of things, and let me know. So my name is Bob Jackman. Many of you know me already. I live here in Utah. I taught for several years in Utah, but I've been doing this for about 7 years. I really enjoy it. I enjoy spending time with the teachers, teaching them how to use the technology better in their classroom. I enjoy seeing them get excited about the new stuff and then turning that into helping the students do better with the technology in their classroom. And so it's really fun for me. There's my email address and my phone number. Our blog is tcgu.net. You can go on there. I've got a bunch of articles on different things, and I've got a bunch of videos there. Most of the videos are hosted on our YouTube channel. If you just search for The Chariot Group on YouTube, you'll find that. And that's a great way to find other videos and resources that you can utilize in learning how to use your smartboards better. Okay? So the first thing I want to do, if you've got a mobile device or if you're on a computer, pull up a web browser. And what we're going to do is a quick little assessment, a little quiz to try to see where everybody's at, make sure that what we're doing ideally fits what everybody needs. So what you're going to do, and you'll see it here on the screen, is you're going to go to classlab.com. So again, classlab.com. You can do this on your phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, just anything that you can get a web browser on. So you go to classlab.com, and you're going to put in this ID. There's no space in the middle. That's just there to help students, process an 8-digit number a little bit simpler. So you'll put that in. Just put in your name, and it'll have you log in. And then I can push to you a little quiz, so you can answer a couple of questions. We can make sure that we're all on the same page, and ideally that what I'm teaching is going to match what your needs are as much as possible. Hopefully all of you saw the SurveyMonkey that I sent out as well. I'm planning on doing more of these in the future, and so if you want to be involved in more of those, fill out that SurveyMonkey, because that will give me information as to what types of topics you'd be interested in, also what times of day work for you. It doesn't do any good to have a training at 11:30 because you'll all be teaching. So, all right, so we got 12 people in already. I'm going to go ahead and start the activity. So again, just go to classlab.com, put in this ID. It's 59166310. I'll put that up one more time. And so once you get in, you should have some questions that you can go through and answer.
What's the code?
59166310. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. So you can see on my screen here, we've got 6 questions. I can see that 35% of the questions are answered. So that could be one person's answered all 6 questions, and another person's answered none of them. But of the total questions, which would be the 6 question times the number of people in there, that's how many questions are answered. If I look over here on the right, I can see which particular student and how many they've answered. So if they've answered 2 or 3 out of 6, I can see that here. I can see that, Gerald Loffley's answered 0 out of 6, and that Wesley's answered 6 out of 6. them pretty well. Yeah, most people have answered them. This will just help me know what to expect. Sorry, Craig, were you saying? I can't hear you, Craig. So you'll need to unmute if you're talking to me.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't know if anybody knows this, but on my computer screen, I'm seeing you in a rather small segment of the screen, and I've got really kind of about half the same size of what I'm seeing you, the other people. I would like to see you the whole screen. Does anybody know how to do that?
So there should be a line between the people and the content. And if you click that line, you should be able to drag it back and forth to make the people larger or the content. But as far as making me larger compared to the other people, there's no way to do that. It's just inherent in this program. It puts whoever's talking is the largest, but still allows everybody else to be seen, which in the case where a lot of people are turning off their cameras, that's not super effective, but that's kind of how it works. All right, looks like we've got most everybody's answered, at least that probably is going to. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. I'll look really quickly at the results. So here's everybody's names. That's obviously there. If that were, it basically creates a word cloud of everybody's responses. So everybody has that, so it's not as cool. But here we can see, looks like the majority of the participants right now are in Granite, with a couple other districts also present. And actually, I can switch that to a list view. I can see 5 from Granite and 1 from just about every other district. Oh, we got 2 from Alpine. They just put in different words. Okay, so it looks like the majority of people have the 600 series smartboard, which is really good to know. We have 4 people who aren't sure what kind of smartboard they have, and that's okay. Or maybe that means they didn't answer it. I'm not sure. Nobody's got that. 1 person has the flat panel like you see here, so that's helpful.
Which one? That one?
What is your experience level? So it looks like everybody's kind of a beginner. We can do basic things. We've got a few people that can create some simple things and 1 advanced user. There'll definitely be some new stuff for everybody because some of the new software just came out yesterday. And so there'll be some new stuff that most of you, but nobody will have really seen. Student devices. Access sometime or no. So it looks like the majority have some access to student devices, but a little less than half have no access to student devices. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. And then the devices that you do have, looks like mostly Chromebooks. Okay.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I cannot get anything. I mean, I can't see you. I can't get anything on my computer where I can see you. I've put in my password like several times, and it keeps telling me it's incorrect and that it will send me a new one, and it doesn't send me anything. And
so you shouldn't be in a place where you're logging in because you should be just connecting as a guest.
I'll say that again.
I have that trouble too. You need to go back to the beginning and log in as a guest and call on the video even if you don't have a camera. Use the video instead of the phone and do a guest, and it won't ask you for a password.
Correct. And you may need to hang up on the phone so you can free up so you can connect.
So I need to hang up on the phone and go back in and click on the link again?
Go back and sign in as a guest.
Okay, I'll try it.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
You bet. So here's kind of our quick agenda. We're going to go over some really smartboard basics. So some really simple beginning kind of stuff. I'll go rather quickly and talk about really some other resources that you can get to. Mainly, a lot of what I'm going to cover, plus a lot more in depth, is on our YouTube channel already. And so if you go to our YouTube channel, there's a playlist for training that you can go to that has a lot of this really basic. So even though I'm going to kind of go through really quickly, if you want to go through it again or have some more questions, that's something you can go to, or you can send me an email with additional questions if you have them. And probably what I'll do is in January, I'll probably do a couple of other trainings and specify out kind of different levels. We'll talk a little bit about Smart Notebook 16.2 and some of the new features. We're going to talk about the lab feature, which is really kind of exciting if you haven't seen that before. And then we're going to talk about the Smart Exchange, where to go to find some of those lab activities and kind of put that all together as we go through. So let's go to, not that one. Oh, that's right. All right, so let's start out kind of really beginning. When it comes to using a smartboard, it's really, some teachers get really kind of anxious about it, and it doesn't need to be an anxious thing. It's really just think of it as a giant touch screen for your computer. Okay, so it'll plug into your computer. Let's skip through this pretty quick here. Skip over that. Okay, so we'll talk basically how to use it. We'll give you a little bit of an intro to the software and kind of go from there. First thing is how to plug it in and turn it on. So basically what you've got is you've got your smart board, and there should be 2 or 3 cables that connect to it. Somebody have a question, or we just got some background noise? So basically you've got 3 cables that should be connecting your smart board to your computer. And the first one is a USB cable, and that's going to handle the touch. So when you touch the smartboard, that's what makes it work. And so if you've got problems with the touch not working, that's probably either the USB cable or the smartboard itself. What you see is either a VGA cable, or it could be like a DVI cable or an HDMI cable, depending on how old it is and what you've got going on there. And so that could be a little bit of a problem depending on what it is that you're doing. And so that's going to go ideally to your projector. With most of you having the 600 series boards or the 800 series boards, most of you have a projector. If you have something like this, a flat panel, then it's just going to be an HDMI cable that goes right into it. And so that's going to be handling what you see. So if you've got a problem with what you see, that would then be that VGA cable or that HDMI cable or something wrong with your projector. So just how you know that there's a little bit of a difference between the 2 of them. And then the last one is, if you have sound, like a room sound system that some people will have, that sound system can plug into your computer, which will give you sound out of there. Some will have speakers on the sides of their smartboard, so sometimes that sound will go through the USB, but sometimes it'll still be on a separate cable like that. So each system is a little bit different. If you've got questions on that, you can talk to your SGS or your school tech person, and they can contact me and figure out some of that stuff to make sure it's all plugged in and working correctly. Power, make sure you're turning it on. There's a power button that looks like this on the 800 series boards. On the flat panels, there's usually a button on the bottom left that you'll press to turn that on. And you should get a solid green light telling you that everything's plugged on and good to go. So a lot of you have the 600 series boards, and the way those boards work, if you turn the board sideways, what will happen is when you turn the board sideways, there's actually an air gap between the front and the back. And so as I touch the front of the board, it actually touches to the back of the board. And when it touches to the back of the board, that connection is what makes it happen. So if you don't press hard enough, sometimes you'll end up with lines that look like this because you didn't press hard enough to get that solid connection the whole time. And so that's one thing that can be really helpful to make sure you're getting a good solid thing. With the 800 series boards, I don't know if I have this on the next one or not. With the 800 series boards, there's actually cameras in the 4 corners of the board. The same thing is true with this flat panel. I've got cameras in the 4 corners. And what that does is it'll actually see my finger as it interrupts between the camera and the sword. And don't worry, it's not spying on you or anything with those cameras. It's seeing what's in the way. And so that's how it sees what's there. And so that's important to know because understanding how it works can help you understand if you're having problems. So for example, one of the first times I used one of these optical boards with the cameras, weird things were happening. And somebody told me it was actually my suit coat was getting in the way of the board. And that was enough to cause problems. And so that's something to just kind of be aware of, how it works, how that can affect what's going on. With the pen tray, so if you've got the old 600 series pen tray that looks like this with the 4 different color pens, let me get full screen here. So if you've got this one with the 4 different colored pens, basically the way that works is when you pick up your pen, the light will turn on, and when that light turns on, that's just an indicator to you saying, hey, we know you picked up the pen. When you start writing on the board, it's going to write in green. Okay? When I pick up the blue pen, the blue light will turn on, and then it will write in blue. Okay, so that's how that one works. It's really pretty simple for the most part. Whatever you pick up last is what's going to be on. And so it's really funny. I'll see teachers who will like pick up a green pen, they're writing, then they move that over, they pick up the eraser, and then they'll erase a little bit, and then they'll just switch hands. So they keep the eraser in one hand and then put the pen in the other hand and go to write, and it keeps erasing because it still thinks that it's going to be erasing. So be aware of that can happen that way, and so just know that that's how it works. So if you put the eraser back, then the light will turn off the eraser and go back to whatever pen you were using before. With that, whenever you pick up the pen, it doesn't matter what you go to touch the board with, it's going to draw on those 600 series boards. And so that's kind of nice because you can use anything to draw with, a tennis ball or a finger. Now these newer ones that have the cameras in them, well, the M600 will still work that way, but these 800 series board and this flat panel that I have right here, it can tell the difference between the pen, my finger, and my fist. And so I can use the pen to write, my finger to move it around with, and my fist to erase. Where many of you with the 600 series boards, if I pick up the pen, I can write, but I've got to put the pen back to start moving things around. And then I've got to pick up the eraser if I want to erase, right? So that feature is called touch recognition, that basically allows it, or object awareness. So it knows the difference between the different objects that I'm using, okay? Many of you have a 600 series board, and you can actually turn on touch recognition on many of those boards. And the way you're going to do that, if you go down by the time, if you're on Windows, if you're on a Mac, it should be at the very top on your menu bar. You should have the smart icon looks like this. It looks like a blue square with a white circle in the middle. If I click on that, I can go to Smart Settings. Or another way to do it, actually on those, the easier way to do it is on your pen tray. On your pen tray, there's a little question mark button right there. So let me, so right there, you've got that question mark button. If you press that, it will pop up with something, and you just click on where it says Touch Recognition Settings. That'll bring you, let's see, hardware settings, mouse and gesture. Okay, so that'll bring you to this screen quickly. And notice I've got a feature right there that says Enable Touch Recognition. And basically what you can do is if it's not grayed out, and you can check the box, that will turn it on. So even though you've got one of those older boards, you might have the ability so that you can write with the pen, move with your finger, and erase with your fist. And if it's not working quite right, you can click on the default. So you click on the touch recognition settings. Mine's grayed out because I'm on this board. You can click on the touch recognition settings and then reset those settings, and that oftentimes will fix a problem. So that's how the touch recognition works. And again, it's just write with my pen, move with my finger, and then erase with my fist. So it's just a really natural way to be able to draw on your smartboard. And a lot of times people have that already, they just don't know about it because it's turned off. Okay, any questions about that?
And they said that apparently it was.
What was that? Somebody was saying something, we lost it. With the, okay, come back in if you got questions. With the 800 series boards, we've got 2 pens, and so you can have 2 people drawing on the board at the same time. And so down at the bottom here are the different buttons. So I can press the red button, and it will write red. I can press the green button, it will write green. Both pens will be writing in that same color. Okay, so on any of the MultiTouch boards, they're going to be writing in the same color depending on what color you select. The only exception to that is this fancy 6000 series flat panel where I've got a red pen and a black pen. And in this board, you can have 2 students writing in 2 different colors at the same time. So that's kind of one of the features of the newest one, because it can tell the difference between these two pens. And so then I can even erase with the back of the pen, which is kind of cool. So that's some of the differences there. With that, what was I going to say? I don't remember. So that's how that works. So you can do two people writing at the same time, but with the 600 series boards, you can't do two people writing at the same time, just because of the technology of the way that board was designed back in the day. Any questions on that so far? Okay, orienting your smartboard. So if you've got a projector-based smartboard, there is, on the 600 series board, you're going to press the keyboard button and the mouse button at the same time. Press both of them. If you're on the 800 series or the M600 series, there's a button that looks like this that says orient. You'll press on that. And what will happen is you will have a screen pop up. I don't have a picture of it because I'm always on a board. You'll have a screen pop up with a little target that you'll press. And so you'll press the target and you'll go through 4 or 9 targets. And it's where you let go that matters. So you can touch anywhere on the board and drag it, but it's where you let go that matters. And so you'll go through those 4 or 9 points, and that's just telling the computer where you're touching, so it's lining up what you see with the image with where the touch is. Okay, so you'll need to do that. You shouldn't need to do that very often. When I finally got my smartboard in my classroom mounted up on the wall with the ceiling mounted projector, I think I would orient maybe once every other week. Just really as needed. So I've known teachers who will orient once and they're good for ever. Well, I shouldn't say forever, but for the rest of the year. So you definitely should be good. The only time to do that is if I'm drawing a line here and the line is showing up like an inch off, then I need to reorient my board. Okay. The flat panels come pre-oriented, so even if I change screen resolutions, because of the nature of a flat panel, it's just pre-oriented and I don't have to worry about it. It just counts. Okay. You can push a button for the on-screen keyboard. If you've got Windows 10, you've also got a keyboard next to the time on the bottom. So you can pull that up to help you. To right-click, there is a button on the pen tray that looks, so there's the keyboard button. These newer ones don't have a keyboard button. I'll explain why in a minute. And then we've also got that right-click button. So I can click on that, and then the next thing I touch, it's as if I've right-clicked it. Another way to do that is to touch and hold for 3 seconds. And then you'll get a contextual menu. If you have one of the multi-touch boards, so not the 600 series, but pretty much any of the rest, I can touch with one finger and then quickly tap with an adjacent finger. It doesn't want to do it. There we go. And it will bring up that contextual menu as well. So again, touch with one finger, tap with an adjacent finger, and it will pull up that menu, unless it thinks I'm trying to rotate. Okay. So the 600 series boards are not a multi-touch. All the rest are. And so what that means is I can use 2 fingers to click and zoom in or to rotate objects. So I can use 2 fingers to write with that, or I can have 2 students writing at the same time. So that's kind of one of the nice things about some of those newer boards, which many of you have. The next thing I want to talk about is Smart Ink. Let me get just a new page. So Smart Ink, whenever I pick up a pen, with all the boards except for the 4000 series and the M600 series, what will happen is I pick up the pen and this little circle will pop up. So if you don't see the circle pop up, it could be that the software you have is a little bit older, or it could be something else, maybe Smart Ink needs to be running. But you should see this. Once you pick up a pen, you should see this pop up. And when I click on this, this is going to give me some options. So the biggest options are changing colors. So even though, let's say I'm on a 600 series board, I can pick up the green pen, and I can click on this, and I can change it to blue, even though I'm drawing with the green pen. The cool part, though, is I can click on this color palette just to the right, and I can choose any color I want. So I've got all 16 million colors available to me, and so I can draw with any color that I want. I've also got access to a highlighter. So again, I can pick different colors for the highlighter. And you guys should have, I actually, on my computer right now, I have the business versions of the software installed right now, as well as Notebook for Teachers, and they kind of fight a little bit. And so I'm missing a couple of options that you would have, which includes like a crayon and a couple other really cool pens that you can utilize as well. So you may have additional pens here that you can click on to get to. So that's something you can look for as well. So the nice thing about that is it makes it really easy to switch colors. And this is really useful when I go off onto like the internet or something. So if I pull up an internet browser, I can click on these, and you should be able to draw right over the web page. So it's really nice, and then I can move this, click and move it out of the way. So I can draw right over the web page to really highlight what's going on, and you should be able to write over most programs. Microsoft like Office, it's a little bit different because it tries to utilize Microsoft Ink, which is Microsoft's built-in inking capabilities, and the reason it does that is so that you're writing into the document rather than just kind of writing in a layer over the top. The other thing that I can do with this is kind of cool, is if I click on it, I have this toolbox. When I click on the toolbox, I have this one that looks like an arrow pointing to an A, and that allows me to write, and it will convert that to text for me. And then if I want to change it, so I can do a little caret like this, and it will allow me to insert. And then if I do a vertical line, it will allow me to add a space. If I circle something, it will allow me to edit that or replace that. And if I do a strike through, it will delete. And then when I'm done, I just hit the check mark in the bottom right-hand corner. Then I touch where I want it to go, and it will be as if I typed that. And so then the nice thing is it allows me to really quickly browse on the internet and do different things. So I don't really need an on-screen keyboard, but that is something that you can still pull up if you need that on occasion, but a lot of times I'll just write it. I could also write it, and then I can click on it and click that arrow to the A, and it will convert it to text. So even if I wrote it and forgot to do that, I could still come in after the fact and select, but I just don't have that editing capability to change it if I wanted to. And delete that. So this is our website, you can kind of see that. But yeah, that ability to draw over different things is fantastic. Now, if you have a PDF, there's a program that gets installed called the Smart Ink Document Viewer. So you can click on Start and find the Smart Ink Document Viewer. That'll allow you to pull up a PDF, and it's a really good way to write over and draw into PDFs. So I know a lot of teachers will have like a PDF version of the workbook that the students all have, and they'll pull it up, and then they can work and draw right onto that. And then the nice part is, with the Smart Ink Document Viewer, when you're done, you can save it. So the next day when you pull it up, you still have all the stuff you did last time. If you're going to do that, though, make sure you save an original in another location so that you're not missing the original, have to go back and erase it all later, right? Although you probably can just download it from the website again. So that is Smart Ink. And so that's kind of the real basics, how to plug it in, how to get started. And Smart Ink, and some of the Smart Ink is probably new to a lot of you just because that's something that hasn't been, that is kind of fairly new. Any questions so far? Any feedback? What are you guys thinking so far? Did I put you all to sleep already? I got a thumbs up. Pretty good. I think Roger Bean is like frozen.
Good stuff.
Got thumbs up. Good stuff so far. All right. So what I want to get into a little bit then, let's see how we're doing on time. Okay. What I want to get into next then is some of the new features that came with the newest version of the software, because they made it easier for you. So essentially what was happening, well, let me go back one more thing. So as you're starting to use your smartboards, a couple of things to think about. The starting point of using any software or any smartboard is to start using it as a whiteboard. Okay, so this is the Smart Notebook software you see me using. If you look at the top right-hand corner, it's like a blue square with a notebook in it. That's the notebook software. When you open that up, you'll get a blank page like this that you can draw on. And I can go full screen by clicking this icon. It looks like a monitor with a magnifying glass. That's view screens, and I can go full screen. Okay, and so it makes it really easy to just go to a full white screen. So if you've never really used a smartboard before, it's a great place to start. Is just pull up a blank white page in Notebook and start using it like a whiteboard. Okay, and if you need to go to the next page, you can go to the next or previous page. If you're on the last page and it's not blank, meaning you've drawn something, when you hit next, it will add a new blank page for you. So it makes it really easy to just use it like a whiteboard. If you've got colleagues at your school who have smartboards and they're brand new and they're not sure what to do, start them out with just that. Here, use it as a whiteboard. The next step would be to go to the Smart Exchange and start downloading lessons that other teachers have made. I'll show that at the end. Or pull up websites and start using interactive websites, which we kind of already showed. So that's kind of your starting point is I can use it like a whiteboard. I can use it with websites, maybe with some PDFs or that you have for your curriculum, or maybe with some lessons that you download off the Smart Exchange. The next step after that is to start creating some content. And this is a really wide intermediate step, is to the ability to maybe take a lesson somebody else made and edit it a little bit, or to start creating some content for your classroom. And that just, I mean, that can go from really simple creation to really advanced creation. And I hope to be able to do some more classes like this where we can show a little bit more in depth how to do some content creation. If we get the technology working well, hopefully in the future, then that might be a better option to help you guys get a little bit further in your capabilities. So one of the things that Smart was getting from feedback from teachers was, hey, we love our smart boards, we love creating lessons, we can do some really cool stuff, but sometimes creating lessons can get a little bit tedious. We really wish we could create some really fun, easy content in like 5 minutes or less, because, you know, we're busy all day, we've got these kids, and at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of time because, of course, we got to go to our second job because we can't really afford to feed our family on one job, right, teachers? So, you know, we don't have a lot of time to prep for the next day. I want to be able to create something fun and interesting, but do it in the least amount of time possible. So Smart has responded to that, and what they've done is they've done this class lab. So that's this one right here. It looks like a Space Invader guide, okay? And if you install Smart Notebook 16, let me get to the right page on that. Nope, that's not the right page either. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So if you go to Help, click on Help, and Smart Notebook Tutorial, that'll take you to a page that will talk about the lab, and they've got some little features that will show you how that works. I'll show you a little bit, but that may show you a little bit more in case I don't cover everything today. So that little Space Invader guy is the lab, and all it really is a bunch of templates to help you create lessons. And they're really simple. The template is pretty well, does what it does, and you just need to fill in your content. And so it'll walk you right through it, and I'll show you how to do that. So what does that end up looking like, though? So let me show you. So here's an activity I created. I think it took me 30 seconds to make this. It wasn't a big deal. And so you can see it. This is order of operations. And so this one's really simple. I'm just going to take objects and put them into a specific order. Okay, so that's what the template does. And I can just type in whatever text or even images and just put them into a specific order. So let's see, parentheses I do first, then I do exponents, and then I do, let's say, division, and it kicks that out because it was wrong, so I'm going to try again. Let's do multiplication, then division, then addition, and then subtraction. And so now that I've done that, I'm all done, and I can reset it and do it again. So I can have another student come up. So really nice and engaging activity. Only took me 30 seconds to create. Now to take that one step further, if I did have student devices in the classroom, so some of you guys have one-to-one Chromebooks or iPads, some of you have at least access to them once in a while, and some of you may not have any, but that's probably somewhere in your near future. What I can do is I can click this icon over here, and I can now start this activity for my students. So if you're still signed in with the class lab, I can push this to your device. So the nice thing is not only have I created a fun activity for my smartboard, I've now created a fun activity for their Chromebooks or iPads. And so if you were to go back to classlab.com and type in this number if you got disconnected, or just open it back up, then you would be able to then go through and do that activity as well. So that's nice because then your students on their devices can be doing that, which is really fun. Which is kind of fun. So many of you have said, oh, I don't have any student devices at my school, or you don't have access to any devices at your school. Chances are somehow somebody is working, whether that be a principal or somebody at the school or somebody at the district is working for a plan to try to get you more access to student devices, whether that be Chromebooks or iPads or something else. And so knowing that those devices are eventually going to come, this will help prepare you for that. So when they do come, you immediately have something that you can do on them. And the cool part about that is principals love it when the teacher can say, oh yeah, hey, I've got a great way to use those Chromebooks now that we've got them. So that's always fun. Or if you've already got them and you're really kind of looking for other things to do, this is a great thing to do. And it's nice because it allows you to engage them in a whole class. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you show me again how to push it forward to my iPads and stuff like that?
Yes. So what you're going to do is in the activity itself, on the far right, there's going to be what looks like a little picture of a phone. And inside the phone, it will tell you how many people are connected. So I just click on that. And then in the box that pops up, you'll have the option to say Start Activity. And I've already started it, so mine says Activity Running. So all you have to do is click Start Activity, and then if they're still logged in, so if they're already in classlab.com and they're already doing maybe another activity, it will pop this one up instead. So if, we did the quiz at the beginning. So let's say your students walk in, and the first thing you have is a little quick quiz, like we did at the beginning. Then as soon as you're done with that, as long as they leave that open, then when you get to this activity and you hit start, it'll pop up right on there. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So do I just have to go to ClassLab and set it up so that they can log in, like to get my own number?
There is no login for the students. They're just going to go to classlab.com and put in their name. You as a teacher, the first time you click on this to go, it will ask you to log in with a Google or an Office 365. And what that does is that gives you a consistent ClassLab number. So your number will always be the same.
Okay.
And on the student devices, once they've logged into you once, the next day, if they're on the same device, it should stay in the list. So it'll make it easier to log in the second time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but no logins. So you don't have to worry about passwords or anything, which is nice. Another question?
Yes, do we have to enter the kids' names at all anywhere, or we don't have to worry about that?
You don't have to worry about that, which is awesome. So
yeah,
that was one of the problems with Response before, was that setup of trying to get everybody set up ahead of time with all their names. And so you don't need to worry about that. It is possible for a student to log in with a different name, and you may not necessarily know that. So you just kind of have to do the classroom management of, hey, if you want to use this, and we've got to do it appropriately, which means you put your own name in. And I haven't had any problems with that so far. So, and most of the teachers I've worked with haven't had any significant problems.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I can also pause the activity. So if I pause that activity, then on the student screens it says eyes to the front, please, which is kind of nice. So if the kids are getting all crazy, you can hit pause. That kind of helps focus on the front when what they're looking at is no longer there. And then I can resume the activity, and then I can also end that activity, and then it just tells them that they're waiting for the next thing. Now with this type of an activity like this one, it's going to push it to the students. It is not keeping track of what they're doing, meaning that it's not going to give you any assessment feedback to tell you who did well and who didn't do well. It's really just an activity for their own, it's kind of their own informal formative assessment. As they go through it, it'll tell them if they got it right or not, and it's helping build that knowledge.
Okay.
Here's another example. So this one's a little bit lower. This one's really fun because it's pirates. So let me turn on the music. So this one has sound effects. And so I've got my even numbers and my odd numbers, and I just drag it over. So it's kind of fun that there's sound effects with this one. Some of them do have sound effects, some of them do not. You'll notice there is a little speaker icon in the top right-hand corner that I can click to turn off the sound. So if the sound is being a distraction, you can turn it off. But it is kind of fun to drag these into the appropriate place and watch them shoot it at the other one. Let me do it really fast so we can see what happens at the end. Oh, if I put it in the wrong one, so if I take this 7 and put it in the evens, it backfires on them and it blows them up, which is kind of fun. And then we're all done. There's a winner and the other ones go away. So kind of fun. Again, it's really just a nice way to engage the students. It was only like 2 years ago. No, actually, it was only about 1.5 years ago that they started the lab features. And so when they first started out, there was only like one theme like this. Now they've got several themes that you can play with and use, which is kind of nice. And again, I can click on this. Again, the little phone on the far right corner. Why is it not working? The pen works.
You might have to reset the game.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. You do have to reset the game before you push that. And then you can click Start for Students. I just did that so that when you have that problem in your classroom, you'll know what happens, right? So then I can click Start for Students, and again, that's going to push it out to those student devices if they're still logged into the classlab.com. So, I mean, you look at it from a teaching perspective, if you have student devices, we could go through, we could start with a quick quiz just as a starter to kind of get them started. I could go through, teach a couple of concepts, have an activity like this that we do all up at the class, at the front, and maybe we have one or two students come and kind of work their way through it. Then I can push it to all their student devices, and they can be doing it individually. Then I can go right into another activity that's similar and then see how they do on that one. And then from there, I could even go into another quick quiz where they get a chance to practice a little bit more, or even one where we collect some data to see where they're at and see what we need to have interventions on. So there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of play through these different activities. All right, so let's show you how to create one. They're really, really easy. What I'm going to do is start by clicking on the Space Invader guide for Splash Smart Lab. And when it pops up, I get this one. Now, if you have any version before 16.2, it's going to look a little bit different, but the essence of it is pretty similar. What happens first is it's going to ask you what type of activity you want to do. And so you can see really simple. Fill in the blanks, flip, game show, label reveal, match them up, monster quiz. The ones that require devices, like you did, whoops, let me go back. Some of these require devices, meaning the activity is not any good unless you have devices. It will say devices required, so just be aware of those. Many of these can be done with student devices as well, where it pushes it to it like I showed you. Some of them cannot. So the speed up or the game show currently doesn't have that option. There is a little magnifying glass on each one of these, so if I click it, it will show me a little preview of what that looks like, which is kind of nice to go through and be like, oh, okay, that's what it does. That makes sense. So you get an idea, because these are templates. They are made to work in a specific way, so there's not a whole lot of customization. Like you can't change the font. You can't change the size of the text. So there's lots of little things that you can't do. But really what you're going to be doing is just adding content. So look at what the activity does and say, all right, what in my content could I do? I knew somebody we did order of operations. Somebody did something else with science where they took pictures and put them in and had them put them in or match them up. So there's a lot of different things that you can do there. So let's do match them up. So I'm going to select match them up, and then I can have my categories. And so I'm going to do school. And then for category 2, I'm going to do mascot. Okay, so then I can just put in here. So I've got BYU is the Cougars. U of U is the Utes. U of U, Wolverines. Dixie. Dixie, you guys still the Rebels, is that right?
Who knows?
I don't know anymore. Somebody was from down there, but I don't know where they are. Let's see, what's another one? USU or the Aggies. That's a pretty good list. So then I'm going to hit next. Now, one thing I can do with these lists, and it's really hard to see on my screen, I can save these lists. So if I have a spelling list or a vocabulary list, or in this case, a list of schools or whatever it is that content is, I can save those lists to use again later. And the thing that's kind of cool about that is I can then reuse that list in a different activity. And it basically means I can create that next activity in like 15 seconds. It's really, really fast. Also, I get the opportunity here to when I want to check my answers. Do I want to check them instantly or when prompted? So I can specify and change up a little bit on that. So I'm going to hit next. We're going to do the dragon theme. That one's kind of fun. So you see 6 different themes. They have this basic theme because some of the high school teachers were complaining that they thought the other ones were too elementary for them. The funny thing is all the high school kids that I've seen use these, they love it. But if you want to be boring like I usually am, I was the boring teacher in school who had like black text on a white background all the time and never decorated my room. That was me. I would, you could use that. But I'm going to go with the dragon one. So you see how really fast that was to create. Oh, go ahead. Question? Do you have a question? Okay. So then here's my activity. So now I'm going to take and we're going to say, okay, BYU. We'll pull over the Cougars, and they match up. And then we could do another one. Let me get this one wrong just for fun. Oh, you got toasted. U of U, they're the Utes. USU is the Aggies. Dixie, that's really not how you spell Dixie. And then UVU. And it's really funny that he like rides away on the dragon, because I kind of expected him to slay the dragon at the end, but apparently that's just not good for elementary kids. I don't know. So again, I can push this and again, push that out to the students. So I hit start activity, so I still have a previous activity going. So I'd have to hit start this activity, and then we'll stop the previous activity and now start this activity. So that's how it is to create these. It's really simple. You're just following through a very simple, what do you call it? It's just a simple template. The wizard's going to walk you through it. And so that's the nice thing, is it's very easy to do. It takes very little time, but it's very fun and engaging in class, both for your smartboard and also for student devices. So any questions on that? No? Okay, good. I'm going to show you one more just because it's super fun. Is if I go in there, I've got this monster quiz. This one does require devices, and this is really good for a review situation. So this is, if you're going to ask questions, basically the way it works is you're going to divide your class into groups, and it will take care of that for you. So your class will be divided into groups, and they're going to answer those questions. And how fast and how accurately they answer the questions, they're going to hatch their monster. If a student answers one wrong, it's going to come, that question will come back. So it's not going to collect any data because all the students will, in theory, eventually get them all right. But it's kind of a fun way to review some content. So when I have this open, I just choose the type of question. So I want a multiple choice question, and then I'll type in, what day is it today? And then I can come down here and say Wednesday. Okay. Always make sure you select the right correct answer. I did this once wrong, and I had students about kill me when, Mr. Jackman, I know I got this right. I went back and I reworked the problem 6 times, and I have it right, but it keeps telling me it's wrong. So don't do like me. So then once I'm done with that question, I can go right into adding another question. And again, if I want to change it, I can come here. So I can do a true-false question. And then I can add another question. Let's just do 3 questions. Let's see. Guess I should make that a multiple choice. What is 3 plus 7? True. Then I hit next. So then I've got all my questions there. Quiz order. Quiz and answers will appear in random order. So this one's kind of fun because it will randomize those. So I hit finish. And again, you're going to want to prep these before your class. You're not going to want to do these on the fly. So we got the monster quiz. This one also has sound. So I'll hit start. So I'm going to start this activity. If you're still on your computer, I'm going to turn it down a little bit. So then it's going to pull up all of the students who are logged in. So all the names will pop up there. And then I click divide into teams, and it's going to ask me how many teams I want. So I'm going to say 3 teams, and it will pre-select everybody into teams. The nice part is I can change these. So if I want to say, oh, Roger, you're going to be over here, or we'll put them back over here. And it's fun to watch their screen change. Like as soon as I drag it over, it changes what team they're on. It's really kind of fun and interactive. So then when I'm done, I hit start quiz. And they're going to go through and answer. So go through and answer your questions. And as people answer the questions, you'll notice their little monster will pop up, and we can see which student answered a question, and we can see how far the progress of that particular group. So it's taking all those students in that group as they answer those questions, how close they're getting to being done. And any question they get wrong, they have to go back and redo. And you can see the monsters starting to come out of their little eggs. I don't know where monsters really come from. That wasn't covered in my 9th grade health class, where monsters come from. Uh-oh. We need somebody to finish. Looks like we may have had some people logged in that got disconnected or something, and they don't know it. So eventually what happens is, as they get all their questions answered, their monster will hatch and they are done. There's like a first, second, third place, which is kind of fun. There we go. Lava Slingers, you guys are the winners. And I can't end the quiz. I usually wait till everybody finishes. You'll want to do that in your class, because that way they've gone through and answered all the questions correctly, which again is good for review. So we see who the winner is. Then I can go to the review and I can see how that particular group did. Okay, which is kind of fun. They get to see the finishing time, how close they were. But then I can click the class review, and this is what's useful. Is in the class review, it will show me how the students answered. And so I get a little pie chart showing me how the students answered by the colors here, what the correct answer was, so then we can review those answers. And so if I get a significant number of students giving the wrong answer, then I know, okay, maybe we need to reteach this concept, or we can look at that again. This is not going to collect any data, so you're not going to have any data that you can go back to, but it's more for the students to kind of self-assess as they go through, and for them to get a good informal, formative assessment. That's what I was looking for. So any questions on that? So again, these new features are really about creating something very quickly, very engaging, and very fun. Oh, there was one more that I wanted to do. Maybe this was it? Yeah, this is it. So this is that tutorial. It looks like they've got a sample of the game show. So this is what's brand new, is they have this game show. Now this is not for student devices. This is just for regular classroom use. So all of you can use this whether you have devices or not. Oh, I can still hear the other one. That's funny. Hold on a second. Where did that monster quiz one go? It's too many of these open at the same time. So it's got some music to go with it a little bit. So basically you're splitting the class into teams. Somebody will come up and spin. Yes, I got a star. Click the power up to find out what you got. I don't know what the power up is. So question, who is the first man in space? No. Oh, it's that Russian one, huh? Apparently I need to go back and study my, and you'll notice the number of points goes down with every wrong answer because you're kind of eliminating options. So I got 25 points. So now we're over on the other team. Times 2. The next person is worth double points. Spin again. So it's just a fun little game that you can play with your class. What are the primary colors? So I got 200 points instead of 100 points. So it's just, again, a great way to review some content, fun and engaging, really simple to create, and that's kind of what they were going for. Any questions? No questions at all.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
But it's back to the other one. I was just trying to think, like the one where you could forward it onto their devices and stuff like that, so it's reviewing. Could you just not take it off your computer and have them go home and log in and do it at home?
You'd have to, so kind of. It's really made to be done live. So it's not made to be kind of a passive, what do they call that, asynchronous activity. And so in theory, yes, you could. So I could pull that up on my computer and start it and then leave. And then when the students got home, they would have to log into Class Lab and they'd have to remember your number, but they could log in and do it at home. But they would only have the one unless you changed it.
Well,
So,
I was just thinking, like, for those kids that get really excited about it or maybe need that extra practice we've done in class, they've done it individually in class while we walk around and try the different things. Could I then have the ones that really struggle or maybe just want that extra fun practice, whatever, have access to it?
Right now, that's the way it would have to be, would be kind of like that. I don't know if they're working on a way to do that. One thing that you can do, and I'd encourage all of you to do this, is if you click on Help, you have the option that says Submit Feature Request. And that's a big deal. They listen to that feedback. In fact, I talked to the guy previously who was managing that customer feedback, and he said it was really interesting because one quarter they had a specific feature that came up really high on the list for whatever reason. And so he took that to his next meeting, and the president of the company basically said to the programmers, that is now your highest priority. You need to make that work. So they do listen to that feedback, which is kind of nice. So that's what I recommend is click Help, Submit Feature Request, and put in the information on that. Put in that you would like that to happen, because I agree. I think it'd be nice to have a way for students to go home and do these asynchronously at home for a little bit of additional practice. And I know they're working on something similar to that, not exactly like that, but they're working on something. So who knows, that might open it up so that feature would be available in the future. But make sure you submit that so that they know that. Other questions? Is anybody still there? Are we all just hanging out?
So with the game show, would you be able to do like questions that have them do, like in math in 5th grade, we're using 100 grids to multiply a 10th times a 10th. Would you have a way to do that inside the game show?
Not really.
You have to model it?
Yeah, they're not really. I mean, you could basically shrink that down a little bit. So it comes in its own little window, which this one's kind of locked. So you could make that window a little bit smaller and give yourself some room to do something off to the side. But it's not really made to be that flexible as far as learning.
Okay.
And so there are some limitations with those.
Right.
But again, you could maybe shrink that down a little bit so it takes up less space on the screen, and then you'd have a little bit of room around it to do some working like that, which would be kind of nice. Because I agree, it would be nice to have kind of a reference, something that you can be referencing while you're doing that game. So that would be how I would do that.
Okay.
Any other questions? So let's go to the Smart Exchange. So if I go to the Gallery tab over here, so this is my Gallery tab, and if I click on Smart Exchange, that'll give me a link to the Smart Exchange. And so the Smart Exchange is just exchange.smarttech.com. And what that is, it's just a website where teachers can save lessons they've created. And you can take lessons you create and save them up here, and I'd strongly encourage you to do that. As you start creating lessons, just share them up here, okay? You can log in, you can sign in, join for free, and share your lessons. Even if you don't think they're very good, sometimes it's better, brand new teacher, it's better than nothing. So it's kind of nice. Right here, I can just do a search, and I can search for any concept and find lessons and other things created that are related to that, and then I can download those lessons. One thing I want to show right now is how I can find specifically those class lab activities. So if I come over here to File Type, then you'll notice I have the option for lab activities. So I can just specifically narrow down lab activities to do in my classroom. And currently on the Smart Exchange, there are 1,086 lab activities. When I checked this a couple weeks ago, it was 1,055. So those are constantly being added to, so it's something you want to look at. You can then come over here and narrow it down by subject or grade level or some of that stuff, or you can search within these results. So look, I've got a prefix and suffix. I've got nouns and verbs, multiples, adding ing. So there's 1,000 of these that I could go through.
Will you go through how to find that again?
Absolutely. So go to the Smart Exchange, which is exchange.smarttech.com.
Okay.
Then I'm going to click, instead of going searching for something, I'm going to come over here and browse by file type. And then when I click on file type, then I'm going to click on, so file type is right here, and then lab activities. So click on file type first, and then lab activities, and that will take you to the list of just lab activities.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If I want to search within that, so somebody give me a topic or something maybe you're teaching this week.
Multiplying a decimal times a decimal.
Okay, multiplication decimals. I'm just going to try searching for that. We'll see what we come up with. 223 results. Now, those 223 results are not just, those are smartboard lessons and everything else. So if I scroll down, I can narrow down my results. And notice lab is not included in those results. So maybe I'm too specific. And those, basically the way that works is the teacher, when they upload their lessons, specifies like keywords and stuff like that. So not every teacher is good at putting that in. So I'm just going to do multiplication. And then that gets me a little bit more, and I come down here. So I've got 54 lab activities having to do with multiplication. And so I can see I've got this multiples of 3 and 4. So I've got this speed up activity. That's one that doesn't require student devices. Oh, look, here's that monster quiz with practice your 12 facts. I don't see any necessarily with decimals, factors and multiples, multiples of 3. So that'd be something to kind of look for. So let's see if let's say multiples, multiplication facts 3, match them up. So I can click on it, I can see a little preview of that, and then I can just download it. And then I can open it. So really fast and easy. It's going to come in as a page, and then I can drag that page to another lesson file if I needed to, if I wanted to, which is kind of nice. Thinking about it. There we go. I probably have too many of these open all at once. It's going to eventually crash if I overload it. Let's see, here we've got them all. And again, I could push that out to the student. So I've got 3 times 3 is 9. And then I can check matches. So you can vary when it checks. But yeah, there's a lot of content online that you can go to the Smart Exchange and start looking for lessons that other teachers have made. And again, as you start creating your own, share those on the Smart Exchange as well. It's really easy to do. Just sign in and then share your file. That's pretty much it. Any questions? Anything else? All right. So I'm going to plan some more of these in the future. Fill out that Survey Monkey that I sent out that had kind of topics and times of day that work best and some of those things. I will plan some more of these, especially since we were not able to get in as many people as I thought we would be able to, and we had some issues. I will plan and try to narrow down how many can come so we don't have that problem, but then also narrow down like ability level and topics and stuff like that, so you can find one that's a little bit more specific to what it is you are looking to do. So that should be a fun way for you to kind of learn some new things. Also check out our YouTube channel. tcgu.net is our blog, and also the Chariot group. Just search for the Chariot group in YouTube and you can find our YouTube channel. Lots of good videos there that you can utilize for training. And I'm hoping to add this to our YouTube channel, so I'll send you a link once I get this done and recorded. So you can go back and watch this, or you'll be watching it since you missed it, and you can check out our other videos that we have on there. Any other questions?
Look forward to the video.
Okay, good. Well, let me know if you guys have any feedback on this, what was useful, not useful, helpful, not helpful, what was tricky or whatever. Please send me some feedback because I'd like to do more of these, and I hope they run better in the future. So thanks. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.